This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today I want to talk about, as I believe this podcast is titled, the hard truth about personal development. Now, for those of you that have heard me talk about personal development before, or self-development or self-help, it's kind of the thing where if people ask me how many hours a week I spend on personal development, I'd probably say 0. To me, it's a kind of question that's like, well, how many hours a week do you spend breathing? It's like, no. We have an opportunity to do this in every single moment, in understanding ourselves better and understanding the world better. It's not that, I put hours aside to read. If that's what you mean, I put hours aside to listen to stuff that I find interesting and intriguing. I put hours aside for my training. But as far as personal development, it's just like, that's what I think should just be a part of living. We don't have to always label everything something, right? Because what happens is that when we start to label it, right, as in personal development or even, the example here is healthy eating, it's like now we only let the people who are interested in personal development do personal development. Now we only let healthy people who are interested in healthy eating eat healthily. Like if somebody doesn't identify as somebody who eats healthy all the time, it's like, no, it's called food, buddy. It's called food. It grew from the ground, or it had a fucking mum. You eat it. That's what human beings are designed to do. But when we slap a special label on it, people start to put themselves into groups. I get that we're all different, sure, like that's fine. But it's the same when it comes to personal development and unraveling and understanding ourselves better and, becoming more compassionate and all that sort of shit. It's like no one cannot do this. And when you remove all of the social constructs that we have to understand that's around us, that we're born into, and I'm not saying that they're bad necessarily, I'm just saying that they're there, that the human existence, the human conditions that we have are separate to that, and we get caught up in it. And so personal development allows us to see ourselves as we are, not as we are in the world that we live in. And this is a big thing. So sometimes we look at personal development as this like shining light, it's fun, or it's like, really exciting to move down here and grow and all this sort of shit. And that's great. But like doing anything worthwhile, it's not about growing as a person all the time. Sometimes it's about getting rid of the shit that's keeping you down. Okay. And that's where it's like, I really, I'm all into self-development, growth and all this sort of shit. And that's great. But what we have to also take into account is that it's not always this really positive thing. Sometimes it's really, really heavy. Like you're going to cry, and not just like from this, like, oh, you probably cry today. It's like there are going to be so many things that you have hidden away and you like deep in your psyche that you don't even think is relevant today that will come up. If you do this properly, that's what's going to happen. That'll come up and it'll fucking hit you, right? Because you've put it off because you didn't know how to deal with it, so you pushed it to the side. So when you move through this kind of stuff, it can fucking rock us. And every person responds differently. Some people freeze and they'll stay exactly there because they're not ready to deal with it, and that's fine. Like if you listen to some people's stories, you're like, fuck, makes sense. But in that circumstance, it's really looking at this for what it is and also what it's not. And personal development, the hard truth about it is that it's continually uncomfortable. There is so many like bruises to the ego en route to learning more about your true self that it's just like fucking painful. But the reality is that pain's sitting there anyway, and it's just dripping. It drips acid every single day. So you got to not like the acid trip that I'm talking about, right? The corrosive kind of acid that just it corrodes away at yourself, and it just builds this solidified hard personality shell that you get confused as. And so what happens is that we want to be able to be honest with ourselves and be prepared for what we cannot prepare for when we move down this road. And I mean, if you listen to this podcast, I'm assuming that all of the stuff I talk about is you're interested in somewhat, right? I know some people will never tell me, and some people only listen to this when no one else is around, and they find this sort of shit really interesting and fascinating, but they don't want to talk to me about it or somebody else about it, and they don't want to be found out that they have to look at self-help shit. It's like no one else's job to fucking help you, mate. Like, that's it. It's the baggage that you carry today, and if you don't think you have any, then you probably have fucking more than most. But the baggage that you carry today isn't your fault, but it's your responsibility to do something about it. And that is going to be so uncomfortable. But the thing about it, it's a punch to the face right there and then, and it fucking hurts, but it doesn't debilitate you for years. They're your options. So this whole personal development, journey and all that kind of shit, it pulls you apart at the fucking loins. Like, it's just so challenging, and for each person it's different, 100%. And I don't know, when I do my 12-week revolution courses with clients, like that's an hour a week minimum that we spend together. And I'm like, look, I have a plan for how we go through this, but the reality is that we don't know what's going to come up. I have no idea. So we're just going to work through this and see what arises and work through that as we go through it. Like, that's the reality of it, right? And the beauty of that is that we then don't try and plan out our development. Like, wow, like there's so many things that can arise that we have never given weight to past the age of maybe a childhood issue happening, so to speak. And I use these for an example a fair bit because, if you look at therapy enough, the further you go into it, and sometimes it's not therapy, sometimes it's personal development. Like, just leave it there. They go hand in hand. But what we don't realize is that, like my conversation with you guys yesterday, it's learning how to forgive that and then move through it. And if we don't, we hold on to it. But it's there anyway. The hard shit that we need to work through, that's going to pull us apart and want us to freeze and want us to fight, want us to run, want us to do all that sort of stuff. But we can't escape it. It's just there. We have to look it in the dragon in the eyes. We have to look the dragon in the eyes, see it for what it is, be honest with ourselves, and truly, deeply, like, uninhibited, like, honesty about what is actually going on in our lives and what is actually holding us back and what exactly it is that we fear, right? When we're vulnerable in that place, that's when we start to move. That's where personal development happens. And that's where growth actually occurs, because we're cutting away the shit. We've stopped the lies, the fibs, the dogma. But yeah, I don't know. I suppose I speak to some people and that it's all rosy, it's nice. It's like, yeah, it's all nice until you find something that you don't want to touch, right? Until you actually see the dragon and you're like, fuck. And then all these flashes of your past pop up and you're like, holy shit, I've got some people to say sorry to. Like, it's quite funny in that sort of circumstance. But I don't know. I think sometimes it's painted as this really, noble thing, and it's development and it's great. But I one of the things I had to learn was that a lot of the things that I thought were outside of my control were not. They were in my control. And a lot of the things that I thought were other people's fault were not. It was just the way I was seeing the world. And when I could work through those things, I shed the tears, and I'm sure there's more to come, like, let's be honest, and move through the pain and see my parts of my ego just fall apart. It's not like I don't have an ego. We all have an ego. That's fine. But what I'm getting there is, like, this personal development thing is not easy. It's not simple. There are so many things that we don't even know can arise yet. But the reality is that you're capable of moving through it. You're capable of growing. You're capable of being honest with yourself. You're capable of trusting people. You're capable of feeling safe in an environment that will let you feel vulnerable to go to the next level. But as long as you hold on to the stuff because you're too afraid to see it, which is fair enough. For a lot of us, it's fair enough. You'd understand it. But as long as you hold on to it, you can't move forward. So this is what I mean when I say slay the dragon. Sometimes it's the dragon, when it grows big enough, will leave the cave and come and crush your life. Take that metaphor as you want to see it. So what's so crucial is that we adventure out with the skills and the tools that we have and the people that can help us, and we go to the cave and we either tame the dragon or we slay the dragon. And that dragon is a part of you that you've been avoiding to do that with. But on the other side of the dragon is your treasure. So every single time I sign off, that's exactly what I'm referring to. Team, that's it. Thank you very much for tuning in today. I hope you found this beneficial. And if you did, it would mean the world to me if you'd pass it on to someone else that you think would also find it beneficial. As always, jump on facebook.com. I didn't even say .com. It's like you don't know it's a website. Search Mood Prep Online. Jump in the group. Continue the conversation. If you're a PT or coach, jump on davenixon.com.au/memberships and check out the Coaches Circle. I would love to have a chat with you if you think that's something that could fit for you. Otherwise, team, that's it. I'm out. Until tomorrow, peace and pizza. Kick today in the dick and slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.